Star Wars, Young Jedi Knights. Heirs of the Force, Chapter 20. Quirrell flew his single fighter at top speed over the thick jungle canopy. The rushing air of Yavin 4 screamed around the TIE fighter's rounded pilot compartment and the rectangular solar arrays. He remembered his days as a trainee. He had been an excellent pilot, one of the best in his squadron, soaring through mock battles and enforcing the Emperor's unbending will. Air currents buffeted him, and the pilot reveled in the sensation of flight. He had not forgotten, even after so many years, the vibrating power that pulsed through the fighter's engines, along with a sense of freedom and liberation after so long an exile. It buoyed him. Quirrell watched the knotted green crowns of Masashi trees flowing beneath him in the storm of the ship's passage. With his thickly gloved, badly healed arm, he found it difficult to control the Imperial craft, but he was a fighter pilot. He was a great pilot. He managed to land his ship. Despite grievous engine damage under heavy enemy fire, he had survived undetected in hostile territory for almost 2 decades. Now flying low over the trees to avoid notice from any possible defenses at the rebel base, Quirrell felt his memories, his ingrained skill, flooding back to him. The Empire is my family. The rebels wish to destroy the New Order. The rebels must be eliminated. Eliminated! His greatest advantage was surprise. This attack would come out of nowhere. The rebels would be expecting nothing. He would streak in with all weapons blazing. He would level the rebel base structures, blast them into nothingness. He would kill all those who conspired to blow up the Death Star, who had killed Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin. He, a single soldier, would secure vengeance for the entire Empire. There, Quirrell squinted through the scratched goggles of his blast helmet. Protruding from a clearing in a dense jungle, a towering stone temple rose up, a ziggurat, the squarish pyramid that served as the main structure of the base. Quirrell roared lower over the facilities of the old rebel stronghold. A wide, sluggish river sliced through the jungle near the opposite side of the temples. On the other side of the current, the bank, on the opposite side of the brownish-green current lay other crumbling ruins, but they seemed uninhabited. Then he noticed a large power-generating station next to the towering ziggurat and knew for certain that he had not been wrong. This base was used as a military installation. As he brought the TIE fighter in on its first attack run, Quirrell saw the jungle had been cleared to make a great landing area in front of the great temple. On the flat field he saw only one ship, disc-shaped with 2 prongs in the front. Quirrell didn't immediately recognize the make or model of the lone ship below. It seemed like some kind of light freighter, not a Rebel X-Wing or any of familiar battleships he had learned about during his rigorous combat training. On the ground, several people ran toward the ship, sprinting away from the stone pyramid. Scrambling to battle stations, perhaps? His lip curled in a snarl. He would take care of them. He flicked the buttons on his control panel, powering up the TIE fighter's weapon systems. Before he could align the victims in his targeting cross, though, all the small figures managed to climb aboard the light freighter. Its boarding ramp drew up, preparing for launch. He dismissed the light freighter as a possible target. For now at least, it was probable, Quirrell realized, that the rebels kept a large force of more powerful fighters in an underground hangar bay. If so, the first attack was to prevent those crafts from launching, even if only by damaging the doors enough to keep the ships trapped inside. He decided his best strategy would be to continue his straight-line course and fire with full-power laser cannons on the main structure of the great temple. He would blow the entire building to rubble, perhaps causing it to collapse internally, thus eliminating the rebels and destroying all their equipment inside. Then he could swoop around and take care of the single light freighter, even if he managed to get off the ground. His third target would be the power-generating station. With the rebels completely paralyzed by his lightning attack, he would swing back for the last time. He would charge up his laser cannons again and go for the kill, mopping up anything he missed the first time. From start to finish, it would only take a few minutes to bring the rebels to their knees. Quirrell centered the temple in his targeting cross, aiming at the apex of the squared-off pyramid and its thin banks of skylights and ancient vine-covered sculptures. The TIE fighter zoomed in. He grasped the firing stick with his good hand. At exactly the right moment, he depressed the firing buttons, letting an expression of anticipation light his normally emotionless face. Nothing. He squeezed the button again and again, and nothing happened. Nothing! The weapon systems did not respond. Quirrell flicked on the backups as he spun the spider in air, barreling down on his target. Over and over he tried to fire, but the weapons were completely dead. His eyes swept the diagnostic panels, but all readings seemed normal. With his gloved hand, Quirrell pounded on the instrument panel as if it would fix anything. With any old Imperial equipment, sometimes it did, but not this time. He frantically worked with the controls, digging under the panels to restart the weapon systems even as he flew on. He searched down and felt around his seat, searching for anything he could use to jumpstart the malfunctioning laser cannons. Quirrell caught a glimmer out of the corner of his eye and reflected against the dark goggles of his helmet. He glanced down and noticed something moving, sinuous, barely seen, slithering and transparent. The crystal snake reared up right beside him, its rectangular head showing up as a faint rainbow in the glow from the cockpit lights. Quirrell, who'd seen plenty of the reptilian creatures during his exile in Yavin 4, spotted it immediately and reacted. He let out a startled cry and tried to brush the snake away. It lunged and bit down as he racked it out with its crippled arm to block it. The crystal snake dug its spear-like fangs into the thick leather of Quirrell's gauntlet, but it was unable to penetrate all the way to the skin. As he flung his hand back and forth, Quirrell could feel the heavy weight of the crystal snake writhing, snapping, but he could see almost nothing at all. He let the TIE fighter fly by itself as he reached with his good hand to grab the long body of the serpent just behind its head. He ripped the fangs free and stuffed the thrashing creature into the cockpit jettison chute. With a cry of disgust, he ejected the snake into the air, where it fell toward the treetops of the jungle moon, disappearing instantly in the bright sunlight. He wrestled for control of his weaponless vessel. The Jedi twins must have done something in their repairs. He managed to stabilize his erratic flight, but before he could decide a new course, bright streaks from an enemy laser cannon sizzled through the air, bolts of energy that ionized the atmosphere around Quirrell's TIE fighter. He yanked on the control stick with his good arm, and his fader launched into a starboard spin. The Rebel light fighter had taken to the air and was flying after Quirrell like a furious bird of prey, and its weapons worked just fine. Quirrell punched to full power to his twin engine and decided his only chance was now to try to escape. In the heart of the jungle, next to Quirrell's primitive dwelling, Jason and Janus sat beside each other, deep in concentration. They reached out with the Force to see what was going on back at the Jedi Academy. Their powers were only sufficient to bring them shadowy images, distant echoes of thoughts, but it was enough. He didn't know I never fixed the weapon systems. But then he never asked. I managed to jury-rig the readouts so they would look normal, Janus said at last. He can fly, but his ship is defenseless. Yes, I think that crystal snake must have distracted Quirrell somehow, Jason said. I wonder what happened to it. They smiled at each other. I suppose our next step, Jason said, squinting up at the morning light that filtered through the trees, is to figure out how to get back home. Jaina pushed a tangle of her usually straight brown hair back from her face and took a deep breath. Agreed, she said, then clapped her hands and rubbed them together. So what are we waiting for?